All right, we are going deep today. I mean, really deep. We're heading into a world of absolutely crushing pressure, total darkness, to explore one of the most extreme environments humans have ever tried to conquer, the inside of a submarine. This is a place where just surviving is a constant battle, and the line between life and death, well, it's about as thin as the steel hull itself. So let me just start with a question that sounds, well, kind of nuts. Could a toilet, a simple, everyday object, actually sink a multi-million-dollar piece of military hardware? You're probably thinking, no way. But the truth is way, way stranger and a whole lot more dangerous than you'd ever guess. I want you to picture this. It's World War II. We're on board a German U-boat, the U-1206. It's deep, running silent under the North Sea. Enemy ships are up there hunting, and all around, the ocean is trying to squeeze the life out of this little steel tube. The stakes are just about as high as they get. And right then, in the middle of all this tension, the captain has to use the toilet. Now, this isn't your toilet at home. It's a super complex, high-pressure system, and he makes one tiny mistake. He turns the wrong valve. And just like that, disaster. A powerful jet of seawater blasts into the sub. It floods straight down into the battery compartment. And this is where a bad problem becomes a deadly one. You see, when that salt water hits the battery acid, it starts a chemical reaction and begins pumping out clouds of lethal chlorine gas. It was like the worst set of dominoes you can possibly imagine. The wrong valve leads to a flood, the flood creates poison gas, the gas forces them to make an emergency run for the surface, and the second they pop up, they're spotted by the enemy and attacked. The entire submarine was lost, all because of a toilet. That story, it just perfectly captures how insanely unforgiving this world is. Which brings us to our first big idea, the steel coffin. We're going to look at the brutal physical reality of what it's like to live down there. Just try to put yourself there for a second. You're sealed inside a metal tube, maybe hundreds of feet underwater. There's no sunlight, zero. The pressure on the outside is so immense it could crush the whole thing in a heartbeat. And you are totally, completely cut off from everything and everyone you know. And inside that tube, the space you get it's just unbelievable. On average, a crew member has about 20 square feet of personal space. I mean, think about that. That's a little box, maybe 4 feet by 5 feet. That's your entire world for months. Now, to really let that sink in, an average prison cell, that's around 70 square feet. Yeah, more than 3 times the space a submariner gets. They're living in a space smaller than a jail cell, except they have to share it with over 100 other people. It's really no wonder that one submariner described it so perfectly. He just said it's more like a steel coffin moving silently beneath the ocean. And that really hits home, right? The claustrophobia, the constant danger, it's all in that one line. So how in the world do you keep over 100 people alive in this sealed steel coffin? Well, it all comes down to some absolutely incredible technology. This is life support on the edge, the stuff that makes this impossible environment possible. Okay, problem number 1, and it's a big one, air. You can't just crack a window. The solution is this brilliant process called electrolysis. The submarine basically takes in seawater, hits it with an electric current, and splits the H2O. You get breathable oxygen on one side and hydrogen on the other, which they safely get rid of. It's like the sub has its own artificial gills. But here's the thing. Making oxygen is only half the problem, because while the sub is busy making good air, every single person on board is exhaling bad air, carbon dioxide. And if that CO2 builds up, it's lights out. So these machines called scrubbers are running 24/7, literally pulling the poison out of the atmosphere. It's a nonstop, delicate, high-stakes balancing act. And then there's water. You're surrounded by an entire ocean of it, but you can't drink a single drop. The sub has to make all of its own fresh water. And it is so precious, so carefully rationed, that a shower, get this, is limited to 60 seconds. 1 minute. That's it. Every single drop has to be accounted for. You know, when you have no windows, no sunrise, no sunset, how do you even know what time it is? Well, the answer is food. Food is huge on a submarine. It's not just about staying fed. It's one of the biggest morale boosters they have. They actually serve 4 meals to give the day some kind of structure: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then a midnight meal they call mid-rats for the crew on watch.
Okay, so the physical side is insane. The tech is mind-blowing. But there is another war being fought on a submarine, and this one might be the toughest of all. This brings us to the enemy within, the psychological battle that every crew member fights inside their own head.
The mental pressure is just relentless. I mean, you go for months without seeing the sun. You have zero contact with your family back home. You're packed into this tiny space with absolutely no privacy. They even do something called hot bunking, where sailors on different shifts have to share the same bed. It's the same people, the same recycled air, the same smells, day in and day out. So, how do you stop yourself from going completely crazy without a sun to tell your body if it's day or night? Well, you have to trick your own brain. Submarines run a fake 24-hour cycle using the lights. They use bright white lights to signal daytime, and when it's supposed to be night, they switch over to dim red lights. It's a really simple trick, but it's absolutely vital for keeping everyone's internal clock from going haywire. And all of this, the physical pressure, the total reliance on technology, the psychological stress, it all funnels down into one final critical point. No second chances. This is a world where the tiniest mistake isn't just a problem, it's a catastrophe. We started this whole thing with a story about a machine failing, right? The toilet. But the thing is, in this kind of high-stress environment, human beings can fail too. A simple lapse in judgment, a moment of lost concentration, can be every bit as deadly. Get a load of this. In 1944, a U.S. submarine fired a torpedo at an enemy ship. But someone made a tiny mistake in the calculations. That small error caused the torpedo's guidance to fail. It started making a slow, wide, circular turn right back towards them. 4 minutes later, it struck the same sub that launched it, sinking the vessel with its own weapon. All from one little slip-up. So you see, it really doesn't matter if it's a toilet valve or a calculation for a torpedo. Life inside a submarine is a constant war on 3 fronts. You're fighting your own complex machines, you're fighting the crushing pressure of the deep sea, and maybe the hardest fight of all is the one against the limits of your own mind. And that's the ultimate truth of this hidden world. It's an environment where every single action matters, where the pressure, both inside and out, is immense. And the reason for all this intensity is simple, and it is terrifying. Because deep under the ocean, there is no second chance.